Hey everyone. So today we're talking about making babies, but, not in the usual way. We're going to dive deep into the really complex, kind of tricky world that opens up when technology and reproduction collide. It's a huge topic with some major moral and legal questions.
And really, this is the big question, isn't it? When science gives us these incredible, brand new ways to create life, who gets to write the rules? We're forced to figure out some really profound stuff. I'm talking about rights, responsibilities, and even the very definition of family.
All right, so how did we even get to this point? Well, you could say we're living in an age of reproduction remastered. I mean, think about it. Modern medicine is completely changing one of the most fundamental things about being human. And because of that, we have to face a whole new wave of really tough ethical questions.
And this stuff, it doesn't just happen in a lab somewhere. No way. These advances are creating a whole new landscape of moral, cultural, and legal puzzles. And they touch everything, from a person's right to choose to how we structure our families, all the way to our deepest held beliefs as a society.
Okay, so let's get into the specifics. We're going to dive into 4 big areas where these ethical challenges are really front and center. We'll break down abortion, surrogacy, fertility treatments, and, the big one, genetic engineering.
So, first on the list, abortion. Now, before we even touch the debate, let's just get on the same page with a clear, simple definition. An abortion is a medical procedure that ends a pregnancy. And as you know, it's probably one of the most heated, most complex issues in this entire field.
The thing is, the debate is really a balancing act. It's not just one thing. It's this complicated web where you have the rights of the fetus, the health and autonomy of the pregnant individual, and all of our different societal beliefs about life and choice, all tangled together. Any serious conversation has to weigh all of that, plus other things, like how far along the pregnancy is.
All right, moving on to our second big topic, surrogacy. So what is it? It's basically an arrangement where a woman agrees to carry and give birth to a baby for someone else. And while it can be this incredible, life-changing gift for a family, you bet it comes with its own set of really tricky ethical hurdles.
A huge piece of the puzzle here is the well-being of the surrogate herself. There are some really big concerns about exploitation, especially when there's a huge gap in income between the surrogate and the intended parents. And then you get into the legal and emotional stuff. I mean, what happens if there's a dispute over who the parents are? And what about the emotional impact on the surrogate after she gives birth? These are not easy questions.
Okay, next up, fertility treatments. You've probably heard of things like IVF, or in vitro fertilization. These are the medical procedures that have helped so many people have kids when they were struggling to conceive on their own.
But as amazing as this technology is, it opens up a whole can of worms, ethically speaking. For one, there's the issue of access. These treatments cost a fortune, right? So that immediately puts them out of reach for a lot of people. Then you have the whole question of what happens to unused embryos from IVF? And what about egg and sperm donors? Should they be anonymous forever? It's a lot to think about.
And that brings us to our fourth and final dilemma. And this is the one that really feels like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie. Genetic engineering. When we're talking about reproduction, this means actually changing an embryo's DNA. Usually, the goal is to get rid of a nasty genetic disease. This is, without a doubt, the bleeding edge of reproductive tech.
And of course, this leads to that massive philosophical debate. You've heard it called the playing God argument. The question is tweaking our own genetic code just a step too far? Are we messing with natural processes in a way we really shouldn't be? There's no consensus here. It's a huge question we're all trying to figure out.
And look, even beyond the whole playing God thing, there are some very real, very practical worries. First, we just don't know what the long-term health effects could be. Then there's the fairness problem. I mean, what if only the super wealthy can afford this? You could literally create a new kind of genetic class system. And some scientists worry that if we start editing too much, we could accidentally reduce the very genetic diversity that helps our species survive and thrive.
Okay, so we've just laid out some incredibly complicated stuff. So how on earth do we even begin to make sense of it all? Well, think of it this way. Ethicists have a sort of ethical compass they use. It's built on a few core principles that help them find their way through these really murky waters.
And right at the heart of that compass, there's this constant push and pull. On one side, you have individual autonomy. That's just our basic right to make choices about our own bodies. And on the other side, you have societal values, the shared beliefs of our communities. And honestly, almost every single issue we've talked about happens right in that battleground, that tension between personal freedom and what's good for everyone.
So let's dig into that idea of autonomy for a second. It's an absolutely foundational principle in medical ethics. It means you have the right to make your own decisions. But, and this is the really important part, you have to do it with full understanding. It can't be a true choice if you're not fully informed. So, for example, a doctor can't just tell you about the potential for success with IVF. They have to tell you all the risks and all the benefits so you can make a genuinely free choice.
And that leads us right into the next core principle, justice. And listen, this isn't some fuzzy, abstract idea. It's a call to action. It basically says that these incredible, life-changing technologies shouldn't be reserved only for people who can write a big check. So what does that actually look like in the real world? It means we have to actively tear down the barriers that stop people from getting care. We're talking about the insane costs that turn IVF into a luxury good. We're talking about someone living in a small town, miles and miles away from the nearest clinic. The goal here isn't just to make these things available somewhere, it's to make sure everyone has fair and equal access.
So, as we start to wrap this up, I think one thing is crystal clear. There are no simple answers here, not a single one. This is a conversation that is very much happening right now, and these debates are nowhere near being settled. In fact, the opposite is true. As the technology gets more powerful, the questions just get harder.
So if you take one thing away from all this, let it be this: we have to be nuanced. There's no one-size-fits-all solution, no simple formula. Every single one of these choices is a delicate balancing act. It's about finding that sweet spot between individual rights and what's best for society, and between our excitement for progress and our need to be careful. And how do we find that balance? Well, the only way is through talking about it, through dialogue. And it has to be a conversation that includes everybody. We need the ethicists, the doctors and nurses, the people making the laws, and, maybe most importantly, we need all of us, the public, to be a part of it.
And that really brings me to my final thought for you. This technology is not hitting the brakes. It's only going to accelerate. So the big question for all of us is this: what are the conversations we absolutely need to be having right now to get ready for a future that, frankly, is already here? Thanks for exploring all this with me.